It says I'm live. Hello. Hi, everyone. So I am wearing a slightly different colored beret. And this is, I don't think the light's really even going to do it kind of justice. And I hope if Dr. Victoria Dooley sees this, she doesn't say, "That's been on your head." I wanted to wear it before I part with it. It's a little bit small on my head, but she had seen a purplish beret that I was knitting some time back, and now I'm terribly late getting this package of berets off to her. And they're not out today, obviously, yet, but I am getting ready to mail really soon. I have a couple of things I want to finish up before I send them off to her, and hopefully she will take her favorites for herself and maybe for Senator Nina Turner, and maybe they'll allocate the rest to people who are doing some on-the-ground volunteer organizing for Nina's campaign in Ohio 11. That's the hope. I'm sending about 10, I think will be the total. But for now, I was just like, well, I love this beret. I'm going to knit it again, for probably the whole Washington website. So you can see I have my whole Washington button on today. And I wrote that the content of, I don't want to, what do I want to do? I think it'll still be exciting tomorrow. Tomorrow, Georgia Davenport, field director of Whole Washington, will be hosting me on Whole Washington Zoom. So we will record a show together where I hope part of it will be like exciting updates, what were both of our takeaways and learning experience from the Healthcare for All Now conference that went on last week and just concluded on Sunday. I learned a lot, and I got some very awesome creative ideas. Let me back up and take a deep breath. So I looked, I just did a YouTube live stream a few minutes ago, like in the parking lot of my work. And to the one person who is watching me live right now, thank you very much for joining. I guess you can, I don't know if I have the settings to where you can comment. Bear with me if I don't, or I'm not very interactive on here. This is a big step that I even figured out how to make a channel and that I'm live on here. So one thing at a time. All right. This is episode 3. And the reason why I wanted to make a YouTube channel is eventually, like I said, tomorrow will be the first one that we, that it's not just me doing kind of a monologue of updates, and we will be including guests on the show and adding to our content. And we'll just see how the show develops. Originally, the idea is really to start creating a platform for the Red Berets and how and why I envisioned crafting them over 3.5 years ago. So, but before I do that, let me just say I did a little live stream that got interrupted on Twitter a few minutes ago, and so I work at a chiropractic office. I work at Marconi Chiropractic on MLK, so not too far here in Tacoma from where I live. And she's a really wonderful, like holistic chiropractor. So I do massage therapy and craniosacral therapy, and Marconi Chiropractic partnered recently with, and if I would have taken the card that's sitting on the refrigerator, I could give out a shout out to her small business and her name, and like how you could get in touch if you are living here in Tacoma, like how you could support her business. But I'll do a follow up in one of my next videos. But it's really awesome because it's a local Black owned business, and her philosophy is just like all good things for all people. And fresh and organic. So it's called Rooted. And I've got 3 different little fresh juiced shots here. And so I've already opened this one, which I think is apple and ginger. So I'm going to pour a little bit of that into my glass and have that to drink here. And because local, fresh, organic food is a human right, the same as healthcare is a human right. And the more that we start supporting local businesses, communities of color, and just trying to integrate all of these issues, because of course, fresh, local, organic food, if it's not that, there's a huge environmental impact, and it's not healthy. And but it's that's an intersectional issue that is absolutely related to what we're doing for National Improved Medicare for All. So cheers, everyone. Let me have my little taste. It's going to be gingery. That's delicious. I love ginger. So that's really, really good. Tastes like I'm doing my body good there. Okay. Give me just a second. I have a missed call here that is from someone that I need to message, and I should just turn it off, but okay. Now I'm back. Oh, that was super good. Now I have I'm not sure what's in the carrot blend and the kale blend, but I look forward to trying those as well. So Dr. Marconi sells them she has a little refrigerator next to the front desk, and she is supporting Rooted and selling the shots there at our business. Okay, what's the next thing? I just think, in the Red Berets, I will try to give shout outs to people. And I know I've already done this, but I haven't done it live on my YouTube channel. We're dealing with some glare here. So this is Joy Marie Mann, Savage Joy, and Pat Coate, Pat the Burner. And it is hilarious. So I don't know if you're following them on Twitter, but it's really, really funny, and I highly recommend it. I don't know if we have Joyanne Greed and Nina Burner, Soledad O'Lion. So I think it seems like, what did we write? What did Pat write? Laura, the work you have put in fighting to improve healthcare in America is contrary to everything the Democratic Party stands for. But welcome to the resistance anyway. Don't protest, brunch, Pat. So that's really, yeah, you can, I think you can still go to their pin tweet, or on the back here, I think it's, I forget what it is. I'm sorry. I'm not very good for plugging stuff, but yeah, Yes Queen Chronicles, you can look up, and it's probably Joy and Pat, or patandjoy.com, something like that. Anyway, it's a really, really, really funny book. So I recommended it for those of you that haven't picked it up yet. Yeah, because I just think we need to start lifting each other up in whatever whatever it is that we're focusing on. We need to try to do the best we can to lift independent media. Savage Joy does a program and has for a really long time. And so it's just really important to start lifting other people that are working on our same causes. And so that brings me to what I wanted to say about this fantastic idea that I came up with while giving a massage today. I was thinking about, and so it kind of the idea came from a couple of sources. I had just sometimes when people follow me on Twitter, I will click on, and I try, but there's probably a lot of people I'm not following back yet. And if you're watching this and you're one of those people and you're like, dang, I've been following her and she won't follow back, just try to get my attention by making a comment or just ask directly, can you follow me back, please? Usually if you're a progressive in any way or open to the ideas that we're trying to do here, I will always follow you back. And so if I haven't, it's just simply like it's hard to keep up with the Twitter account. And I would love to follow you back if you're working on this cause with us. And yeah. So anyway, I looked at somebody's account who happens to be in Seattle. It was a new person that followed me. So I click on his profile and go look at his pinned tweet and see that he's like a local artist. Still haven't really got a chance to look at, I think, music really. I'm not really sure what all he does. It was just like all of a sudden, like seeing that he was in Seattle. So of course, when I see that some people are, in Washington State, it automatically wants to help. I want to then plug them into wholewashington.org. And I want to emphasize to everybody right now that no matter where you're living, and it doesn't even matter if you're living over in the UK or another country, that's where I lived for 7.5 years. And it was one of the things that got me, first starting to attune to the horrors of our healthcare system, our wealth care system. We don't have a healthcare system. We have an insurance for-profit system. And living in the UK was one of the first times of my life when I started to understand how indoctrinated that we all were just to accept the status quo. Because, some of my fellow students that I went to holistic school, I did several different courses over there, craniosacral therapy and biodynamic massage and body psychotherapy. I was really lucky. The whole irony of having signed up right after high school to join the Air Force, to kind of like, because I didn't know that I wanted to go to college, or I wasn't committed to anything with that yet. But I did want to kind of I didn't know what I wanted to do. So that was, so I signed up for the Air Force, and then ended up marrying my husband, who served for longer. I did my time and then got out because it wasn't for me. I don't have a person. I don't I don't follow orders or rules very well. So but anyway, so the whole irony of like, but we're both very progressive. We wouldn't have gotten a chance to go over and get that opportunity in England. But now I guess in retrospect, and learning so much that I have about the military industrial complex, and just how much work that we have to do here in the United States to make this a more just country, and the enormous global impact that we're having, and not in a good way. The benefit of having served and chosen to open my eyes while over there, because you can go in any walk of life, you can go through life with blinders on and miss the lessons or miss the opportunities. I didn't really do that, probably because I was in the line of work of doing a lot of deep integrating work and looking at myself and looking at healing on a very deep level. So anyway, that all kind of planted the seeds for my later activism, because I had so many of my people that I went to school with who would ask me why first of all, how could I serve in the military in a country that, does all of these regime change wars? But additionally, they also commented, and plus, look at your healthcare, look at your system. How can you serve a country that leaves so many behind? So that was, at the time, it was really just like, I was kind of small at that point and kind of, fearful. And of course, felt a lot of shame about that. But then, I chose to start listening and waking up to that. And so it was a call to beginning to wake up. And then it wasn't really until Bernie, until I heard his 2016 platform, that sort of reignited all of that, like figuring out, oh, wow, this is the time to get involved. And anyway, so where was I? So this artist that reminded me, seeing his profile reminded me of Sunday. I wasn't able to participate in very much of Saturday on the Healthcare for All Now conference. I am really, really happy that I signed up and went, and that I participated on Sunday when I was able to, when I wasn't working. I did two seminars besides the closing one, I think. The first one was Michael Leidy, who is with National Nurses United, and he did a seminar on the history of ballot initiatives. And historically, his point was that historically we haven't, there hasn't been a quote unquote, like there hasn't been a success being measured by, well, did you actually make the ballot or pass, get it to pass, and so, or was it defeated? So, you know, several of us commented that, you see, look, I'm already trying to like figure out how to be skillful about it. First of all, I appreciated the facts, because to quote him, he said, we have to be very hard nosed and kind of clear eyed about how we approach this, and like about what are the actual facts historically. So I did my best to kind of listen from a perspective of taking all of his depth of knowledge and everything into account, and not just, we don't just dismiss those things out of hand and say, oh, well, I guess all the other attempts were just an anomaly. No, but I also think, Jen Nye, who is another volunteer and board member of Whole Washington, was also in the conference, in that seminar. And when she raised her hand and spoke at the end, she very much was articulating what I had a chance to speak to, which was wonderful. They called on me, and I was able to kind of talk about like national nurses being the inspiration for knitting the red berets, and why I chose red, and then the beret, of course, because of being a veteran for peace. But in regards to kind of like, can we still be hard-nosed about the facts of the history of ballot initiatives? And can we also, because Jen was able to articulate some of this when she got her turn, she said she just doesn't see, even if, like, for example, in 2018, when Whole Washington did an initiative and we gathered 105,000 signatures, that's a ton. Like, we need more than that. That was a little over a third what we'll need. We're going to need 300,000 or over 300,000 signatures. But our organization was very, very fledgling at that point in time. And his point that he was saying is, you really need $5 million kind of dollars in the bank prior to even starting that. And then, because of the insurance that you're going to go out, and you don't want to undermine the movement by going in to an initiative attempt being financially and organizationally ill prepared, which is, I think, fair. And so let's bench or couch that for just a second. So like I say, that stuff is really important, to have the facts and have the history and learn from everything that's been done so far, what was successful about the attempts, what wasn't, but the ultimate measure being, if it didn't pass, what we need to look at those things and be honest about it. But Jen's point, and I wholeheartedly agree, she made several, is that it's not like every single signature when you're out doing a ballot initiative. Every single signature is a human interaction, and what we're doing is we're movement building in like the most like authentic. Even I get so ahead of myself, and I have several thoughts at once, so I have a hard time like articulating it in just a simple stream. I'm going to give you an example of how I think the value of this can't be measured simply in, well, Whole Washington didn't collect 260,000 qualified signatures in 2018. Therefore, they didn't make the ballot. Therefore, that is not a success. We were gathering all the way up till like the 4th of July. The deadline was the 6th. And we knew a month out at least, maybe more, at the trajectory we were at, there was no way we were making the ballot unless there was like some kind of massive miracle, like Bernie it comes out and endorse it. And I'm not saying he should have, just that's what we knew. Like unless something really seismic shifts and we got some press coverage or whatever, we just simply at the trajectory we were at in those final days, we knew that we weren't going to make the ballot. But let me give you an example. I rallied a bunch of, a good handful of us rallied together just in our little Tacoma world of Whole Washington. And we went down to the annual event down on Ruston Way to go to the big 4th of July celebration. We brought our tent or our canopy, whatever we set up. We had all of our ballot, our boards and everything. Some of us walked, some of us stayed there at the booth. I don't even remember how many we gathered that way, but it was basically I had a whole bunch of petitions. Each petition holds 20 signatures. And I had stacks and stacks that were like 10 signatures on this one, 6 signatures on this one. So my thing was, I'm going to take all of these down there, and my goal is to get like all of these filled up. I knew that there was no way on that day that we were going to, even if everybody else was out, and I knew they were out on 4th of July gathering those last minute signatures, we knew at that point we weren't making the ballot. So if we came from this mindset of, well, we failed this time, we're not going to, in fact, make the ballot. There's no point in going down there. And as far as like, not to typify, there's a lot of people that are going to go to a 4th of July celebration, if nothing more than just the community and this and that. But I knew that I was going down to probably, as far as like festivals or big gatherings go, I wouldn't necessarily expect to find like a ton of people who support universal health care. And I think you can figure out why that is. It's not an it's not, hey, if you're on the 4th, believe in celebrating the 4th of July, you're not going to be for universal health care. It's a bipartisan issue. Everybody needs health care. Therefore, I wasn't going to think in any of those terms like we're not going to make the ballot and what's the point in going down? There's probably going to be a lot of conservatives there. You don't think like that because gathering signatures for a ballot initiative, after you have so many interactions with people, it teaches you to be really open-minded and not to judge people. I had an experience. So let me talk about that day. First of all, we filled up all those sheets. I don't know how many we got, but hundreds of signatures that day. Of course, adding together everybody up, maybe it wasn't much. I'm going to tell you something. That last push for all of us that stayed really, really dedicated in the last week and probably out on 4th of July events when we went all in, even though we weren't going to make the ballot. It made the difference between Whole Washington being able to celebrate 105,000 signatures versus we gathered 97,000 signatures or 99,000. We made it over. It was such an incredible amount of work, and it was absolutely worth it down to the very last day. I cannot speak passionately enough about that. And I'll also say on that day, if I would have gone down there thinking, it's going to be a lot of conservatives, they're going to be, you know what? There were a lot of people who signed it saying, I don't know that I support this, but you know what I do believe in? I believe in it should be on the ballot. So I don't know if I'm going to be that, but hell, let's get it to the ballot. I'm going to sign it anyway. And that's the thing that you are also promoting when you're doing a ballot initiative is a much stronger sense of like one person, one vote democracy. So, when I would be gathering signatures all through it, if I could tell somebody was a little hesitant about it, I would always just say, please remember that by signing this, it doesn't necessarily mean you will vote for the legislation. Maybe you will, maybe you want to look more into it. But we're hoping that you think that everything deserves a chance to be on the ballot, to have a vote. And so there were many, many, many people that day who not only supported it, but if they didn't know if they did, they were like, hell yeah, I'll put it on the ballot. That's what I say about it. So it really does, a ballot initiative. It gets you outside of those boxes that you tend to put people in, and you'd be surprised. Like, I might have had more success on that day than sometimes that I had going down to the Proctor district, which, to give you a little, that's like North Tacoma. That's where a lot. It's like, so we would go there to the farmers market in the Proctor district, and I'll go ahead and say, so that those of you that are living in North Tacoma, if you see this, um, I would get very, very frustrated going up there, because that's a whole lot of people who vote Democrat, who vote blue no matter who turned me away with a nope, nope, I don't support that. I could tell, again, you never know exactly, but there's a lot of like liberal, or people who would consider themselves liberal in that neighborhood, and just not people, they're in that income bracket where they're not interested in putting universal health care on the ballot. So it also does. I had more luck going down to the local Walmart gathering signatures, because those people need health care, and I have to say, it was quite frustrating to be in an affluent neighborhood. These are the type of people that do, I don't want to say these, because there was also loads of wonderful, amazing people in the Proctor district who signed our petition. But I just want, it gives you like a real understanding, and an open-mindedness about humans and where they're coming from, and try not to make up your judgments about who's going to sign and support it, right? So I can't, and then another thing is, we grew as a family, like, like I mentioned on the other live feeds that I've done, or the previous episodes, kind of giving you a foundation about where the idea of Red Berets came from. I got connected up to Whole Washington because of a nurse named Catherine Lewandowski, who lives in Everett and who is now the chair of Whole Washington, all because she had seen, my pictures of my Red Berets, where I was writing, "Let's knit for nurses and the 99%." Just with my earliest pictures of berets. And she messaged me, fall of 2017, saying, "I'd like to come down and hear more about this." She is such a dedicated woman. She is making, and if she watches this, she would want me to let all of you know, if you haven't seen The Power to Heal. It's on, Whole Washington shows it all the time. It's a really powerful film on the role that the civil rights movement played in the passage of Medicare. Medicare would never, when you see this film, you will understand. It's hard to watch. There are some parts that are very, very, very difficult to watch because of the inequities, and just to go back and see how it was for people of color, and for Black people, and to understand that we wouldn't even have Medicare if it wasn't for the work that the civil rights movement, Black people and all of their allies came together to help push that through. And I don't think a lot of people know or understand that. So I would really recommend that film, The Power to Heal. And it's not free. I mean, maybe you can stream it or figure it out. But if you sign up on wholewashington.org, and then you'll receive the email updates, which they don't inundate you all the time. But we do a lot of showings of The Power to Heal, and you can join us. There will be another event or another showing. So that'll be one of the benefits. I feel like I'm kind of going off I'm going to save quite a bit of this idea that I had about art. I'll give you a little teaser, but then Georgia and I tomorrow we'll talk more about it when we're on the Zoom together. But basically, I've kind of segued into several different streams, and hopefully people can kind of understand that that's how my mind works, is just kind of this universal kind of circuitous thing. And sometimes I can bring myself back to where I started, and sometimes I just go in a different direction, and that's kind of how my mind operates. But hopefully, I've said that you can go on and you can join us for Wendell Potter on the live stream. So if you do want to join us, you'll want to catch that soon. That's on wholewashington.org. You can sign up for the Zoom. It's a free event. So, and then this is credit to, oh my goodness, I forget her name. The wonderful woman, the crafter of the knitter of the mittens. And now there's a wonderful hashtag called, or the hashtag is knitters of Twitter. So Bernie's Mittens. And here is if you see this little bow, this is because this is the thumb gusset. So the pattern that I looked up, in case any of you are knitting and you're like, but if you are, you're probably like on Ravelry. But this was called I just looked up mittens or easy mittens or something, and it's called like the simplest mittens ever. Double pointed needles aren't like the simplest thing ever. So I would just argue that that in itself makes them not, but they're not that difficult. So it just starts with a 1x1 ribbing, and so you knit them from cuff, and then you can see that it switches over to just knitting, and then pretty soon you start the thumb gusset, and there's like every 3 rounds you increase. Oh, I don't know. Can you see it? Yeah. But what's important, because a lot of you that watch this probably aren't crafters. Hopefully we get a combination of people who are crafting. What I'd like to do over time is start inviting guests of people. There's people that are far more creative and just amazing at crafting than me. And I'm not saying that to undermine my own work. I do some pretty cool stuff. I mean, this is cool. It's not really as difficult as it looks. I'm a good knitter. I definitely would say I'm a good knitter. But I mean, there's people that are just like either write patterns or just are so creative. There is a crochet artist, Michelle Deviere. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, Michelle. And she is crafting. She's a crocheter. So this shout out was to Sarah Hansen, because Sarah Hansen, inspired by Red Berets and inspired by the Vermont knitter, Ellis is her last name, right? Anyway, she said, Sarah did, Laura, why don't we start creating mittens she said we can make it mittens for Medicare. We can start doing shades of red mittens and kind of make them go with the berets or the slouchy beanies. And I was like, yes. So, and you see that we have, there's a woman who, her name's Catherine, and on Twitter, she's Kai Mountain Woman, and I retweet her all the time. And she creates she just did some ones that say Red Berets Medicare for all. So, and we are crafting all of these things for Whole Washington. So this brings me circle back to Michael Leidy's presentation on the ballot initiative. I want to say 2 more things about that, because I was saying like the sense of family, that's now I know how I went off topic, or not off topic, but you know what I mean, is, here's this nurse that comes down and introduces herself to me because she's looking at this thinking, here's this creative idea. This is great. She's saying knit for nurses. And then I'm a nurse. I think that I want to do anything. People that are this dedicated are like, they hear an idea and they're willing to say, hey, let's give this a shot. Like, we just need all people putting whatever their skills and whatever their talents are. If your skill and talent is knitting or sewing or crocheting, I'm telling you, there is a way to get involved and put that towards the furtherance of passing Medicare for all, or helping state level. State level it's all in service to our eventual goal of national improved Medicare for all. And that's the thing I've tried to illustrate with Red Berets, is like, let's have a connective, there's this quote by Lisa, who's 50 lines only on Twitter. and she had said quite some time back, let's craft the fabric of our future. And that is how I look at creating these fabrics, is a connective, let's connect the movement through this artistic means. I would like to share, and this is the silliest thing ever, but I only have a couple more minutes, so let's see if I can find it. And because I don't know how to embed a YouTube video, but this is why I need to find it. Let's see. Okay, so I'm so off track here. I'm sorry. Well, I'll be more organized with it tomorrow. Basically, I think good stuff came out of Michael Leidy's presentation, and then I also wanted to just say with it, you know, we're in a different moment in time than any of those other efforts. It's not to it's definitely not to dismiss, like, here's all the things that we need to learn from history and that we need to do better. But the point to $5 million, Jen Nye sort of directly asked him, well, if we need $5 million or whatever, can we get some movement solidarity to help us raise this money? Because it's a bit of a conundrum, and in fact, a massive conundrum that we have, because we also have, it's not that we're simply solely focusing on the initiative, we're focusing on the legislature, but you could equally argue the point that the legislature is a failed experiment. In fact, I do argue that point all the time, because you have Democratic supermajorities in California, and you put all this work into it, and then to be vetoed or like not to be blocked by the governor. And I can guarantee you that here in Washington state, if it came down to our legislation, we can't even get a public hearing yet, even though we have seven Senate co-sponsors. So that's what we're working on right now. So I'm going to share more about this Artists for Whole Washington, which is, again, inspired by National Nurses United, because they have a link where people can submit their art for their Medicare for all art, their art that is in service to lifting the voices of nurses. And since National Nurses United is a large, or the largest nurses labor union that supports Medicare for all, I think it specifically is Medicare for all art. And so there is there's a place on their website where artists of any modality or persuasion can go and put their art there. So there's quite a few Red Berets artists. I'm one of them, and Nurse Fran down in Florida, she's one of them. She's crocheting. Sarah, handcrafting is an art, and digital art is another form. There's so many, and poetry. So we'll talk more about this idea of just trying to rally more people to submit for national nurses. And I would also like to have that be the impetus for people to begin creating art for Whole Washington, because Whole Washington is an organization that is working at every level. We do a ton of advocacy work for the national movement, for both, for the bill that's going to be reintroduced into the House. We don't know if it will be HR 1384 again, Representative Pramila Jayapal's bill, or if we'll get a new bill number. But regardless, we're going to be calling our representatives and organizing in our community to get everybody back on board who was on board before, and new people on board. So Whole Washington does a lot of that organizing. But they also are organizing here at the local state level in Washington state, and they're also connecting with other one-payer states. So the one-payer states are trying to have this new or increased solidarity for one another. California, and I can't name all of them right now. All right, we'll have but that's the thing. If you get involved with Whole Washington will send you updates about what's happening in other one-payer states, exciting news from them. Like I think Maine, they announced some exciting stuff. So, Whole Washington is trying to build a connective community for the one-payer state strategy, but also for of course, what we're always all working on constantly is the national movement for Medicare for all. So we reached out to comedian Ron Placone and asked him if he would write a song for Whole Washington because we have is she? Yeah, we have a representative, Eileen Cody, who is blocking. We basically have a couple of opponents who naturally have taken, and they're Democrats who have taken massive amounts of money from the insurance lobby and pharmaceuticals. So he came back with this amazing song that I want to play, and it's going to be really cheesy because I don't know how to like screen share and do the whole thing on here. But I'm just going to hold up my phone. And I hope that there is that I can ask Jeff at Spitting Back, who has done some amazing graphics and videos for Bernie's campaign. He's been off Twitter for a couple of days, and so I don't want to assume that he'll do it, but I'd love it if he takes Ron's song and puts a little bit of imagery to it and makes it into something that we can share more visibly on YouTube. And anyway, even if that doesn't happen, just the fact that Ron did this and you can all share it out. I think it might be public on YouTube now, but let me push play. This is so funny. Uh-oh. Hang on, I gotta start it over again. Okay. It's all glary. Okay.
Don't know if you heard, but we need healthcare for all. And some folks up in Washington ain't dropping the ball. They're fighting for the many, even though they're the few. And they're gonna bring single-payer healthcare to you. The whole Washington. Whole Washington. Whole Washington. Whole Washington. They're fighting for the country and they're fighting for the state, because the fact that we don't have healthcare is a total disgrace. They're not going to stop until they win. And Eileen, if you're not on board, I think that's a sin. Oh, Washington. Oh, Washington. Oh, Washington. Oh, Washington. Right now. Single payer now. Single payer meow. Single payer now.
Is that awesome or what? I just love it. But we haven't figured out how to just like embed the video to where it shows. And then Lumpy Louise was saying maybe it's because it's too short or who knows. But like if we can ask Jeff to maybe create something out of that so it would be more shareable, I'm sure everybody's just gonna like love that. Ron's the best. Thank you, Ron Placone. He if you also go to his channel, just look him up on YouTube and like and subscribe. You can basically see his interview if you look up Ron Placone and Whole Washington. He interviewed Georgia Davenport, field director, quite recently. He put on a red beret that we, gave him some time back, and so got a lot of information. It's like also on the episode where it says like the biggest strike in human history. But I'm gonna keep like thanking him so much because, and then also Jen Perlman invited Georgia Davenport on, so Georgia will be appearing on their show pretty soon. So it's just really great to have, and Ryan Knight, another massive shout out to Ryan Knight. We aren't scheduled yet for Amped Up podcast yet. He's very busy and probably has a lot of people on the agenda already. But I think we'll be able to be on at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future. But I just wanted to say that, on Sunday, there was so much support. He tweeted out a whole bunch of I stand solidly. I was solidly for force the vote. I still support force the vote. I also support, and then he tagged like a whole bunch of really great organizations, including, Healthcare for All, who put together this organization, this conference that was on. And he also included Whole Washington. He has a really awesome platform and just his framing, and communication, I just feel is really impeccable. So just to have that kind of growing solidarity in our movement where we start to realize, like, let's lift each other up. And even we're maybe not necessarily going to agree on strategies. But you know what? Like, if we're seen as at least a united force in, hey, I don't know if that's the way that I think, but I'll tell you what, like, let's say that you still are somebody who thinks like state level is just not the way to achieve this. I mean, that is how Canada did it. So let's look historically at that. Saskatchewan achieved it first, and now they, over 50 years ago, passed their Medicare for All program. So if it wouldn't have been for the hard fighters and the pioneers of Saskatchewan province, and others that joined, maybe they would never have gotten there. So, you know, that's history for you, right? So let's just get that out there. But let's say that you have your reservations about it, or you're somebody who's working more just focusing on national improved Medicare for all. I would just like to see everybody say, you know what, that's not where I'm going to put my energy because I'm working on this sort of national strategy. However, I do believe in the solidarity of saying, all good efforts, everybody who is working hard and fighting hard in Washington state and building community and building family, this is in service to our national movement. So although I may not put all of my energy there, I'm going to give a shout out. I'm going to express some solidarity. That's what we need to do more of, like, moving forward. And so it's good to start seeing that some of that solidarity is increasing, because I can't say enough about how hard that whole Washington, and I'll give myself a pat on the back here. Like, it's been an incredible amount of work. It's not only the crafting of all of these berets, but I need people to know they're not just hats. They're literally like the intention of putting into every single stitch of knitting for the 99%, and for nurses, and for health practitioners who know that this is the right thing to do. And it's with the intention of connecting people up, creating this fabric, and it is, there isn't one right way. If you're organizing with DSA for Medicare for All and out canvassing, and thank you for your work. And so I hope that people can just start to say, like, let's try to connect up and be, more flexible, and let others in. We can't keep marginalizing and putting people who are not necessarily plugged into an organization, who are out, fighting on social media and then going in direct action, to say force the vote. We can't just say, oh, because you don't belong to this other organization, I'm just going to ignore you, or say you don't have a good strategy. People that need Medicare for All are part of the they can't be ignored. We can't ignore human pain like that and people who are making their demands. So the important thing is just to keep trying to work together to get everybody plugged into how they can best use their voice and their story and their talents. And yeah, I guess we're going to have disagreements. That's going to happen. I get negative sometimes on Twitter. You'll see my kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing come out. But I also try to bring things back together and give just pour on the credit where it's due, and we'll just keep working together. All right. Thanks, everybody. And you can join Whole Washington with Wendell Potter, and you can look forward to hearing more on this idea about starting to call artists to create more Medicare for All art for national nurses, and specifically to Whole Washington. And so this is going to include poetry, music, all kinds of digital art, and handcrafting, painting. Just the sky is the limit. I think, we fight fascism by having something to offer people, working class people, and we do bring people in through art far more than just being. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to yell and to say I need Medicare for all. We need it, but we also have to look at what actually moves people. It might not be the policy that moves people as much as when they see, you might move somebody who wasn't going to support Medicare for all, but they love to craft, and suddenly they see, and they think, I want to knit this, I want to knit and crochet for this because I just want to do something that I think helps people. They might not even be totally on board with whether that's the right thing to do, but we can move people in that way through art. So I think that art connects the movement, it nourishes and fuels the movement, and so that's what we're going to be working on. I'm not like this mad, like, that's like wool art. It's needle felting, some cherry blossom trees. I did that. So I do like fiber art, but I'm just interested in getting more people involved in this, and starting to like invite people who do incredible forms of art, and bringing people in to saying like, how can we like really get this art moving for national improved Medicare for all and for one payer states, and how can we make it intersectional to where we're putting the environmental injustice and all kinds of issues, and intersect those with Medicare for all. Okay, thank you for watching. It's kind of a long 51 minutes. Take care, everyone. And I think that's all. That is all. We'll see you soon.